May 20th at 5:30. Ms. President, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hit the red button.
All right, roll call. Ann Carver.
Present.
Scott Cole.
Here.
Amber McCune. Here. Gabe Campos.
Here.
Sherry Steenson. Here. Melinda Patrick, I'm here. And Karen Braswell is not here. We have a quorum. All right, let's start by just welcoming Sherry to her first meeting with us. We're excited you're here. The very first thing that we have on our agenda are the consent agenda items. Oh, no, we don't. Sorry. We have an impromptu public speaker who was asked to be heard by the commission tonight. Gabe Campos
Thank you. Yes.
is going to present to us. Please tell us your address and your name when you get to the podium.
Will do. Thank you. My name is Gabriel Campos, and I own the building at 101 Southwest Barnard Street. Just wanted to take a quick minute to kind of give you an idea of what's going on with my building. So recently I was approached by a potential buyer that owns a wealth management type business, financial and wealth management. My real estate agent, well, she had asked me if I was interested in selling, and I really wasn't. But I said, if we're gonna sell it, we need to talk to the city. From my experience here, I know that there's certain things that can go where they can go. So because she knew the mayor personally, she contacted the mayor. The mayor says, I'm not sure. Let me look into that. He got back to her and told her, yeah, that's fine. It's a go. And again, not holding anybody, not trying to be confrontational about it, but that's just kind of how it unfolded. Got a call a couple of weeks ago from city administrator and said that they would not issue a certificate of occupancy for the building for an office because of the ordinance had been passed and the schedule of use. But going back and forth with the city administrator, and this is really what I wanted to bring up to the commission here is my building, and I'm well aware I bought it in extremely poor shape. There was a hole that you could see. Basically, you could see the sky. It was raining, it would pour in. So we immediately got that fixed. Excuse me, and we bought windows for the building. Haven't been installed. We were planning. The buyer wants to come in and do a complete renovation of the building, and historical. He wants to be a part of downtown. He wants to save the building and make it a gem of downtown, as he described it. Talking to city administrator, he said that he'd rather see the building sit empty, vacant, and continuing to degrade rather than to see it be renovated and become an office. So, and I brought this up to the city council. I know that we talk and we have real strong feelings about preservation, and I don't doubt any of that from any of you. Very, very impressed from what I've seen. I asked the city council if they were willing to back the commission on that. What do we value more? The buildings, saving the buildings, preserving the buildings, or letting them deteriorate because somebody wants to put an office in there? Again, this is, as of right now, I don't know if we still have a contract or not. I've had some other folks contact me about other potential uses. But it still stands that our city administrator said that he would rather the building sit empty and continue to degrade rather than to be renovated, refurbished, restored. And that to me is concerning. Do we have the cities? Are they going to support us? Or is what we're doing here all for nothing if they're really not going to support us? So I ask you guys just to consider. I know where your value is in your and your priorities stand when it comes to the buildings, but does the city know where their values and support? So, if you get a chance to talk to the council, the mayor, city administrator, let's ask those questions. Anyways, thank you.
Thanks, Gabe. Okay, next up are the consent agenda items, and we have a lot of them. There's 9. The first is to consider approval of minutes from March 18th, 2025 from the HPC meeting. The second is to approve the minutes from April 15th from the HPC meeting. Consider approval of a COA for 101 Northeast Vernon. Consider a COA for 101 Northeast Bernard. Consider approval of a COA for 101 East Elm. Consider a COA for 101 East Elm, Part 2. Consider a COA for 105 West Elm. A COA for 101 Northeast Vernon. And number 9 is consider a COA for 100 Outlaw Station Street. Has everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda items?
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda items as submitted.
I will second that with one.
You have to pull it then.
I move it down discussion. That's what I
It's
just
minutes.
asked.
It's just the minutes.
It's just the minutes. There's one word I want to change, but I can pull it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull then the meeting minutes from April 15th.
Oh, good. That's supposed it was mine.
So I'm looking for a motion now to approve consent agenda items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Scott seconds, all in favor? That is a 6-0. Okay, moving on to individual items for consideration.
We do the consent agenda. So
You just told me to move it down to the consent
No, you just
consideration.
pull it and then.
Okay, so
Then
that's
we do
fine.
it right
That's what I
away.
do. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do that one. This is considering the approval of minutes from April 15th. I'd like to make a motion to approve with the word not after vice chairperson, she would not be able to attend. I notified you that I would not be able to attend.
Oh.
Typo. Little typo.
Do I have a second?
I make that second.
All in favor? 6-0.
Yeah.
I told you some of those fingers move faster, or the brain moves faster than those fingers.
And that's why I didn't spell check it, because it was just yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're moving on to individual items for consideration. This one is discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding a COA as submitted by HH Supply Company for 102 Walnut Street, Suite A.
Okay, this is for the building where Blackie's is. If everybody's familiar, it's 102A. Building built in 1965. It is non-contributing, if anybody's interested, currently. Because when the resource survey was done, it wasn't old enough to be contributing. And you can see the picture of what they want to change. The picture on the bottom is the current signage. It's just the windows. They're not putting anything on the building itself except on the windows. And then you can see what they would like to put on the windows at the top. Issue. Basically a name change.
They're putting, it's gonna say,
Hartley Ranch on the square, HH Supply, and then they'll have these little emblems that say the Sons of the Republic of Texas.
Does anyone have any questions?
So wasn't there, okay, I know we don't look at the ordinance, but didn't they change something about what could, like making it,
Well, I think this is what you approve it, but it still has to be approved from a building permit
Yeah.
signage standpoint. Yeah. And so even if you approve, it still has to go to the city for their approval. And then if there is an issue with this sign in the ordinance, they would have to.
I would make the motion to approve it as long as it follows the ordinance and.
I'll second it. I'm just asking if they changed the ordinance on the signs, but they didn't evidently.
Maybe they did.
I don't know.
And which part would you think that would be the
Well, it should
round?
go to them first, and then it does.
Yeah, it's,
Should go to them first.
So as long as they've approved it, then.
so they approved it before it came to us? Okay, well, I second the motion, as requested.
All in favor? 6-0.
I believe the city. Have y'all seen this one?
We've seen it, but we haven't approved it.
Do you have to approve it first or do we approve it first?
No,
Because
they
he was
approve
under
it
the
first.
impression you told him he had to come to us first.
We have to approve it.
Yeah, it's just like with Paluxy
Generally, if it does
provisions.
not, if it doesn't meet the ordinance, it should never come to
They-
us.
we
they won't
just
get the
approved
permit.
it.
They won't get the permit before us.
Right, okay.
We just approved it.
But to save time and make
Like in
it
the
easy for
future.
everyone, in the future, it goes to them, they approve it first. Yeah.
Is that-
That's why if you look at the actual COA, there should be a
It
part
does,
on
it
there
says
that
that.
it says that it's been
Yeah.
through them first.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, we're moving on. We are now moving into the workshops. The first one up is the facade grant program.
Okay. So everybody has 2 documents that I handed out. Currently, this 14.03009 is in the ordinance. So this is it's on the website, and this was passed by city council. And then we've also been asked by the city to put together a facade grant program. And so I think the question is, at least for the group, do we want to continue to try to run 2 programs? And this is not really a tax credit program. This is a program based on the ad valorem tax from the city. So you could get up to 50% of your ad valorem tax that's on your yearly tax statement back in money from the city. And so that's what this is. And so if we decide to keep this program, I was asked to bring it to you guys to make some changes. And it would be, all these things in red should be taken off because you're really, if it's coming to historical, it's not gonna be interior. It's gonna be only exterior. And all these things in red really refer to interior renovations. And so those should be taken off and more interior things added, if the group decides this is the continued plan.
I think
Yes.
that's for the city though. I don't think this is for us to even.
Okay,
Well, this would be for us to recommend.
Okay.
Okay, here's
What
my
it should say.
question. 14.03009 did not come to us
It did not,
at all.
it did not. Went
Went straight to the city and did not come to us. So the changes they're asking to be made,
They're not asking, they're,
suggesting.
well, I think it was brought up that this ordinance, if run by the historic commission, really is talking about interior
Right, so
work, so it has to be changed.
But it's not really run by us.
here's the thing,
I
that
think they're asking us to come up with a program we run, because this is really about downtown facade, historical. So come up with a program we would run. Do we wanna continue this? Or does it need to be more of a facade grant type of program and you meld the 2 together? Cause I don't think we wanna run 2 programs.
The
But that's
thing,
just my,
I believe the premise was that we just wanna make sure that people were doing something with their building.
right,
So, I mean, do we go and check these things? No,
The
Right.
exterior.
yeah, but I'm just saying the interior too, we wanted, I think the whole premise was,
I think really they're the most worried about the outside and the presentation downtown and how do the buildings
But the
look.
thing is that we
And we cannot
cannot
do inside.
No, we
anything to do with the interior, so you cannot run it under
Right.
historic preservation if you're going into the interior.
Right, and I think they're willing, like, in talking to the city, they're willing to do the money that comes with both. But I don't know why you would wanna run two programs, could we meld the two together
So how are you,
and make it just more of a facade program? But that is why we're workshopping
Well-
and talking about it.
So the tax incentive program goes to everybody that meets that criteria, where the facade program, you would have to apply for,
Right.
and only a certain amount of people would get it every year.
More focused on downtown.
And so we would get it from Texas Historical Commission, and let's say we get like $20,000 or something like that. Like, let's say we get a large funding
Oh, I
from
think
them,
they're
or are you
actually
thinking the
saying
city's
they're
gonna?
gonna run this without that.
So I am actually going to pause this meeting. I am going to leave and go watch my kiddos graduate. So I am going to hand over the meeting to Ann Carver.
Now, what I'm hearing is maybe we will go get a grant, maybe we will come up with money at some point, but right now the city is willing to, for downtown things, you know, on the square, give up to $2,000.
nobody
Yes.
has that much tax, I know.
No, I can't.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, I think I'm the most expensive one, actually. From looking at it, and it's 50% is nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
right,
It's
and
nothing.
the thing is that if you do,
But
and
if
they're
you-
doing this strictly for historic downtown,
Yes,
Who are you talking to the city?
the city administrator.
What do you think?
It's not me, that's what I'm
No,
asking.
I know.
But I think they're asking for us to come up with a program that would then go to
This
city
is the first
council.
I'm hearing of this.
Yeah.
That would then go to city council for a recommendation from the historic preservation committee. Here's a faci- And how, if we were recommending, what would we recommend?
here's the thing, and here's how I feel about it. The facade program, if you're saying, what I heard you say is that they're wanting it for the downtown more, then what are you gonna do for all the properties that lie with outside of, and give them their tax incentives for the program?
You can do
That-
both.
They're gonna have to, be included in this, cause they are within our historic district. You cannot,
So then you have this program, and we clean up the language. And then you have a facade grant program for your downtown, which a lot of cities have.
right, they do.
Right.
And you and I both have sat through lots of those classes and learned about them.
But this money in here, while nice, as you mentioned, for most owners is not a lot. It's like $250
Yes,
for, because it is
Not a whole lot.
only your city, half of your city ad valorem tax. So for the mill, it might be a little more, or the hotel, it might be. a
Yeah,
little
we're
more, but-
exempt,
Shoot,
so,
so yeah.
so we
That's
pay
fine.
none.
So it is, I mean, and for a downtown owner, if you did this and this, maybe you get $2,900.
You can stack them.
Stack them.
So you wanna stack them.
So I guess you wanna stack them, yes. But we do need to clean up this language.
Okay, clean it up.
Do y'all agree with?
Clean it up.
Is there
And take
anything else?
everything that has anything to do
Okay.
with the interior of it out. And this is a workshop.
So we need to bring this next month
Mhm.
with,
This is a workshop. You
Okay.
we can't make it, but
would y'all agree this is how you want it worded, or is there anything you want changed?
Outside of this, did we ever, or was it ever determined the process of getting the tax? I know that we talked about it at.
the application, I haven't
Right.
seen an application.
No,
I've
I
got
just-
one on the back here
Oh.
with you, but this was more facade, but I think it could be easily workshopped into,
Yeah.
they're gonna be a little different, right? But I still think you've gotta have an application.
You have to have an application. You have to then include where you have to have,
I think we might wanna add roof repair to the. that's the
paint
one
windows,
thing.
exterior awning, patio, sidewalk, signage, refurbish the time of, on the windows, or the refurbishment of time on windows or building.
That's probably trim.
Trim.
Trim on windows or buildings, doors, and I'm gonna have the roof.
And the roof?
Yeah.
And, here's, I would, in some way, because you have said exterior restoration including, so, but not limited to, or some way,
Oh, yeah,
because,
but not limited to.
because there may be other,
Something we haven't thought of, right?
yeah.
Okay, so then I'm gonna bring this back next month as an agenda item that would then go to city council.
Yes.
Right, okay. Then the application,
We need to put Heather, we need to put an application with this.
Right.
You can do this, but put this with this.
right.
You need to include an application
Okay,
with it.
so what, I mean,
If
what's
the
gonna,
application would be different than this, because this
what's
is,
gonna, what's the eligibility of it though? Like who's gonna be eligible?
it would be
what's-
somebody in a historically, on our historically designated list.
Yeah, there's
It could be a house.
78 of
And
them.
then how do we distribute the funds? Like,
We're not-
It's a check cut by the city, it's not from the county anymore.
so who decides who gets what? Cause I guess
We're
my
gonna have an
question.
application, and I feel like they're gonna have to come through me to you guys for approval.
And then once we approve it,
Then it
we don't have a final say, just like when we
goes
do,
to city council.
just like when we did the tax abatements. We did them, we recommended that all those that followed the application and filled out the application correctly, got it back in time to us. We approved it. And then from that point, we sent it to city council because we cannot evade tax. We can only
Right.
request
This
that
is
it be.
really not even abating tax.
Right, but I was talking about when he was
Basing it
talking
on
about,
your tax, they're just gonna cut you a check.
and that's all up to the city council. That is not up to us. I think Heather, they're just looking for us to say that Bernard's Mill did the work. They qualify for this. We say yes, and we send it to them to make the final determination. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
and I think if I were changing this application, because this is gonna have to be, there's gonna have to be two separate applications, right? If we do the facade, but for this one, number 7 would be taken out, because it's not a grant anymore.
Right.
And this does not ask for matching funds here, does it? I don't think it does.
No, it didn't.
Okay, so that, what else would I change?
So this could be a home and not just a
It could
building?
be.
Yeah, because we have 78 historic buildings.
Yes, it could be a home.
They're buildings or homes. We have 78. I believe it's 78. It
Then
might be a few more than that.
on 13, I would take out the applicant agrees to share all receipts related to project to validate the 50% contribution, because they're not having to.
That's correct.
So do they get the funds before
No,
they start the work or after with receipts?
it's after with receipts. It's after with receipts.
Okay, I'm
Did
just
you
gonna
not-
make a few little.
Miss Sherry, do you have this thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But I didn't get it until this moment when I walked in.
Yes.
Yes, that's what
We all
she,
I
we all
gave it
did.
to everybody.
She just gave it to all of us right now, okay?
Okay,
Because I want to be sure you have it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't be as, like, this is asking for a lot of information, because you're gonna get 2,000 if you get a facade, but here you're not gonna get that much money. I don't know that you have to have,
You don't have to attach the receipts. You're gonna have to have,
but in advance, do I have to give you a quote for the work
No.
I've done? So I think I'm gonna take some of this out.
yeah, they're gonna need to give us, I think that the estimated cost, let's look at number 6, where it says the estimated cost of the project. And then underneath there, it says, break down this, quotes and recognize the I think they need to,
Right.
tell us it's gonna cost them $1,000 or whatever it's gonna cost. They need to tell us that they're getting it done by X, whatever, who's gonna do it, just like they were filling out a certificate of appropriateness
I agree,
and all.
but they don't have to give us the quote.
No,
Or-
'cause-
I agree, okay, that's a little much.
And of course, they'll have to do 8 and 9 with the project start date would.
Right.
But this is, wait a
Completion
minute,
date doesn't make any sense. Things go wrong all the time.
well, they have 180
It
days.
says propose,
Yeah,
Okay,
I
here-
can't just.
it says propose,
Here's the thing,
and they've gotta
The
get it done in
finish
6
date.
months or
I
request an
mean,
extension.
contractors show up, sometimes
This
they don't.
one-
You can't-
what we're working on right now, this one, we'll have to, no, I just lost my whole train of thought. For the proposed start date, they'd have to put that on there. And then the completion date's gonna be 180 days or 6 months, roughly.
Right.
And I had another thought process and I lost it.
Okay, I'm just gonna wordsmith this a little and bring it back with this.
Yeah, it just needs to be simple for this.
Simplified, I agree. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do for this. I think the more, I don't know if it's more difficult, but if we've also been asked to put together a facade grant program for the downtown area, and I think that's debatable what that area is. I don't know if that's changed yet or not. For the exterior and encourage people to work on the exterior of their buildings, and that the city would match up to $2,000, but the owner has to contribute $2,000 also. That was kind of how I've heard it, and really, I mean, you could say how I've heard other cities do it, like you gotta have a little skin in the game, right? If you're asking.
Some of them are 80-20, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just,
Some of them are 50-50.
the framework would be that, and then however you guys wanna recommend it to the city and to city council.
Well, I wish that, personally, I wish it was, could fold all into one program. But if they're only gonna offer the facade to the downtown, it has to be folded into 2. I mean, that's,
I agree.
that's the
Right,
problem.
now that we've talked about it, I completely agree with you, yes.
so, and
The other thing I think it is worth discussing, you as a commission, is obviously if this is 2 programs and 2 applications, and someone at the city is gonna have to get them, review them, get receipts in, get that
That's right.
check cut. It might also be discussed that there's gonna have to be some help at the city level beyond maybe what the historic commission is getting there.
we have said that for,
But I
A
think
long
when
time.
we take this, that should be part of the recommendation. That's just-
yeah, if we don't get a staff support other
Right.
than what the
This can't be
staff, it
right.
cannot be done.
But I think when this is, whatever you agree upon as a commission, that should be part of it.
Yeah. Cause every one of us sitting here is all volunteers.
Right.
And I know that we all volunteer a lot of our hours, our time already, and to do all this paperwork because it's an intense program and paper oriented and detailed, whether you get that paperwork through email or whatever, because I know Heather has and I have, both of us have sat in on lots of these program classes that are successfully running. And you just don't have volunteers doing it. You have to have a paid staff employee dedicated to this program and to do that.
How many of the 2,000 are awarded annually? Is it limited?
No,
Limited
I don't know
funds?
it's, what did it, at one time, didn't they say this was a running calendar?
To run per year. So I mean, I don't know if every building downtown's gonna apply for it. If they need $2,000 worth of exterior work every year. I think the thing I did highlight down here is, I think this needs to be taken out because I think it needs to say the Glen Rose Downtown Historic District and this historical overlay taken out. Otherwise, you're gonna be giving $2,000 to every.
Then we don't, if we do that, we don't need both of these.
Yeah, but I'm not sure the city is gonna give every single historical building, a home sitting out in the neighborhood $2,000.
Okay, but, and we need to check this out. And our director of services needs to check this out. If I'm not mistaken, of course, I probably am. The city council has moved the downtown line per se, that it goes now to the Paluxy Apartments that it ends there at Mary Lynn at Paluxy Apartments. Okay, just the building right next to Bernard's Mill.
Right.
And it goes this way to include Oakdale and,
Along Bernard?
yes, and I can't remember how far.
Hasn't been done yet.
They took it to city council and city council voted on it that night.
I know, but no mailings have,
Okay, you're saying the other portion hasn't been done, but the city council did vote on it, right?
I couldn't tell you
Okay,
on
well-
that, I just
I
know.
believe they did.
Didn't they vote on it that night because they wanted to take in Rivercrest, and George Freeze said that he brought it back to the Paluxy Apartments? You need to check on that. Okay, before
Well, I
we,
think what we're coming up with is a program.
right,
When
but,
they eventually decide,
but what I was saying is when you're talking about the downtown district,
what is that? Right,
They've
what's the
now
definition?
moved, the downtown
Downtown.
historic district hasn't moved, but the downtown lines, I think, have moved.
I'm thinking
I wouldn't
it's the
swear to it.
downtown
You know, I
historic
think
district.
they tabled it.
Did that? Okay, then see, like I said, I was wrong. I mean,
I think it should, well, that's up to you, I mean, you're the commission.
Go
The
on.
impression I get in talking to the city administrator, it would be the downtown historic district,
well, then that's what,
the facade. This would be for any historic.
right, but that's why I was saying the historical overlay, because that includes Bernard's Mill.
It does, but then it would also be any little house in town, and I can't imagine they've got the funds for.
Well, actually, it would only be the historical overlay of which it doesn't overlay, it goes down there and picks up picks up Bernard's Mill and it picks up Karen, but it doesn't include the senior citizen building, okay?
So this is the new one then.
No, when you have a historic district, you know, Bernard's Mill and that are in the district, but it doesn't include the non-historical buildings that aren't in
Right,
the
no, I
district.
agree that, I
Yeah.
completely get that.
That's what I was
So
trying to
What do
say.
we wanna call this though? What is
I
it?
don't. I mean, you wanna be sure and pick up the buildings that are eligible to get it?
Commercial, should we say it's more?
Oh, is she, I bet she's watching and gonna comment on what I
she's doing.
what I said.
Cause I don't even know how that went on. I haven't.
So maybe I try to find out the definition of what this should cover before we bring it back to the next meeting to really vote on it.
Right,
Okay, so this is a
cause
question.
like I said, I probably am wrong, but it wouldn't be the first time. Won't be the last
If
time.
you're reading this, is there anything else you'd want to change about it? Or do you want me to read it and just we walk through it real quick?
So would the historic downtown district also slash central business district? Is that what we're talking about?
I think that's what we're trying to define.
Right,
What is that?
Yeah.
How far does it
because I
go?
think that's, I mean, if you want to just say central business
Well,
district.
But that's not what this is for, it's for the,
P&Z already did.
Well, it is for, this is historic downtown district. I mean, we're not talking,
Well, I think that's the question, like how far does it extend?
right, how far are they gonna call the district? Because on the map, the district is
Well, yeah, right.
Cedar and Vine, and it goes this way, and then that way, and this way, and this way.
Is that what?
But the historic district includes the 3 buildings at the other end of Bernard, and the historic district includes buildings at this end of Bernard,
not the downtown district.
but not the down, but that's why I said we got to figure out where they put downtown.
With the new downtown.
Yeah, so we got, is
And the
it,
new downtown goes all the way to Oakdale Park.
look, I told you I'm probably wrong.
Well, we'll figure it out. We can't do
Yeah,
it
yeah,
that
yeah.
year.
Well,
That's
well,
beyond
just-
us.
What would they approve?
This is.
And they put a bunch of them on, so I don't.
I don't know, yeah.
So just real quick, if you know, continue reading, it says building owners and businesses in the area, helping them enhance their properties and contribute to the district's economic vitality. I think that's pretty much businesses, central business district.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty clear as mud. But
Cause if that's the central business district, and I am a historic building, and I'm gonna come down here and tell you, I'm a historic building.
I agree.
I want to be included in this program because I'm a historic building. I'm a business inside the historic building. And all, so I can understand, you know, if you're gonna make it for businesses and not residential, then I'm gonna come down here and tell you I want my facade money.
I agree. And I think Lookout Station is gonna say, hey, I want a piece of that.
Cause they've been included in the facade, in the historic district,
Historic district.
in the
So
district.
would we wanna say it is for non-residential structures in the historic district or overlay, non-residential?
That would work a whole lot better than excluding those businesses that lie
It
just out.
happened to be like, I would say, man, if he wants $2,000 to help restore that, that'd be great for the city all day long, right?
Right, and it's not quote unquote his fault, or it's not Bernard's Mill's fault, because we are
Not right here.
right here. We're just 3 houses
And I think
outside of
The
it.
other thing is, that's how we've defined it. If the city council wants to change that, they could change it, and there's still an application process. And that doesn't mean everybody that applies
Gets it.
gets it.
But yeah, let's fix it
We've
to
outlined it,
non-residential
non-residential.
or make it commercial.
Well, you're gonna have to include like homes that would be Airbnbs also.
That's
So they're
still
gonna-
residential. They're
That's still
non-residential.
Okay, let's make sure. Because that's what I'm
I've
saying,
outlined
I
it,
gotta
it's
try and.
residential,
It's residential. It's historical, but it's residential.
Okay.
For sure. Okay,
It's
so
like
we're gonna redefine this. It's Glen Rose Historic District or non-residential properties in historic overlay. Done. Okay. What else? Okay, let's just read through these real quick. Must be an existing building. Okay, I'm gonna change that first one. Must be an existing building. We're changing that. Here's some requirements. Properties must be free of city liens or delinquent property tax. Applicants must not be past due in sales tax. Building sites must not have received a grant in less than 1 year. The complete application must be received, approved by HPC and city council before construction can begin. If you begin construction before that, this pretty much says you might be at risk. And so the grant improvements are required to be on the exterior and visible to the public. They must comply with zoning district design standards of applicable zone or applicable state and local requirements. Includes facade facelift, painting, trim work, cladding, front porch additions, enhancements, newer enhanced attached signage, detached signage, exterior lighting, new storefronts, windows, window framing, hardscapes such as sidewalks, concrete, street parking, fences, lampposts, landscaping. What about I think landscaping.
Yeah, landscaping
Makes it look better.
Well, it's part of our ordinance that
Right.
we oversee the yards, the fences.
Were you gonna add roof to it?
Yes.
Mhm. And do we need visible to the public? Because some of the buildings, we can't see the roofs.
Probably not. Exterior, let's just leave it as exterior, right?
What do you think?
On the roofs, if you're gonna come repair your roof, and it is considered, because we are talking about the facade program, right?
Mhm.
We didn't go back to the other one.
No, the other one is
Done.
different.
Okay. If you're gonna repair your roof, I would say the largest majority of our historic commercial buildings, non-residential buildings, roofs cannot be seen from the street. But the thing is that if you don't repair your roof, you will not have a building. So therefore, the roof, whether it's visible from the street or not, needs to be taken into consideration.
But is it what the city's going for from a facade standpoint? Like if they're really contributing money for the look,
If you don't repair the roof, you're not gonna have the facade in the building. So
something like Gainesville.
Very much so.
I agree,
what do you,
I agree. This
is that kind of putting the cart before the horse? We're not gonna fix the roof, but we'll fix the outside.
Right.
So when the roof collapses and the sidewalls collapse, oh, well, we fixed the outside.
Okay, I agree. Okay, any other addition?
So you did include the roof, whether it's seen from the street level or not.
Yes, and I took out visible to public, and I just left exterior.
Okay. Because a lot of the buildings we can't see the back of the buildings, but they're still part of the exterior.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring these both back next month for approval to go to city council. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to
I
know?
will have things to add.
So what I really would like to do
I tell you, if I
is-
look, read it and I
well,
start
what I
thinking
think I'm
about it.
gonna do is
I'm gonna have notes.
make these changes
Just
real
for
quick
me
and
now.
then send them out to everybody pre-meeting. I did it. Pre-meeting, no, okay. Well, if
But
you wanna make
here's-
changes, then let's do it now.
Well, I know, but I'm gonna think
Here's
of
what you can do.
5 other things.
Because we're in a workshop,
Yeah.
and here's what you can do, and you can go home, each one of you can go home
And
and
send me.
read this. You can send it to Heather. Heather can make all of the necessary changes, and she can send it to Stephen and Jody. And what we can do is without making, because you'll end up with a quorum if you send it to all of us.
All right.
She can send it there. And she can send out a note saying, please note the changes have been made. And that kind of thing. If you send it out to us,
I'm not gonna send it as a group.
you can't, no, you can send it to the two of them. And then, make sure that the changes are made with what this group here suggests. But this group individually
Send it
can
out. Okay.
send you
So
something,
think about it. If
Without
any changes, let me know.
including anyone else on it.
So is roof supposed to be on this other one, like number
Yes,
9
it's on both.
also?
Yep, I'm adding it to both.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. That is that.
do
What's
think
next?
you need-
Okay, on the workshop, the next item up on the agenda is the Historic Preservation Commission website.
Let's see. Oh, that's you.
No, the website, all right, that is the city, so let me tell you what I know, and we all know. The website needed to be updated. We have a terrible website. It's not even, it's terrible. So here are the things that we need to see on our website, the historic drop-down box. I'd like for us to have a website that is not part of a drop-down box that works. And y'all all can, if you've ever looked at ours, it's terrible. They have the landmark that they have on there that they use for the landmark has not been used since 2009. They have it on there. Jody has a current copy of the landmark that was approved by this historic commission and sent to city council in 2017 that needs to be put on there. So she has it, and she has it on a digital copy to get it fixed. The certificate of appropriateness that we updated in February of 2025, it needs to go on there, and it's in a fillable PDF.
I would like it to be lovely to be fillable
It is fillable.
and signable.
It is.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
If you don't have it, Heather,
Oh, I have it.
I will resend you the,
I have it, but
Okay.
people don't have it.
well, that's because it's not on the website.
So is someone assigned to do this website all over again? Is that been decided?
Is that the city?
The city,
Or you just wanting to know what we want or what they want? 'Cause you asked to put it on the agenda.
well, he did, and he sent,
Yeah, I think I was trying to come up with.
You want to know what we would like.
he sent a list of kind of things that he wanted
Got
on there. It didn't get attached to our packet. You and I and Melinda, I think, got a copy of the items that he wanted kind of on there. I'd like to see the certificate of appropriateness uploaded correctly. I'd like to see, the correct landmark one put on there. He wanted. Let me see if I can find it. Stephen, do you remember all the items? Okay, let me see if
I think it'd be lovely if the overlay map was.
Yes, the overlay map needs to be on there. Let me see.
That'd be nice if we had an overlay map.
Okay.
Well, there is one, you just have to go to the.
But it doesn't show all the houses that are, yeah.
Okay, he wanted us to look at, he sent it to us, and I'm gonna click into it right now, and this is what he did. He sent the Fort Worth one over for us to kind of look at.
Yep, I remember that.
And it has an overview on it to kind of give you an idea of what historic preservation is. The certificate of appropriateness application and the review. It has the historical and cultural landmark commission. It talks about who's on it, what it does, and then it drops down into boxes that has the meeting dates and the application deadlines, past decisions, and annotated by the agendas and all. It has the calendar of when every meeting is. I think that we just need to kind of really just look at that. It has the historic designations and what it takes to get a historic designation. It kind of does it's breaking down the ordinance so that they can see it in categories where they can just click on it and you don't have to go look through every portion of the ordinance. It has, I think we just need to look at this, pick some items out of it.
So is it in development, or are you asking for us to come up with a short list of, at a minimum, we want? Is
Come up
it,
with what you want on it, and
is the website in development?
my understanding it is,
Okay. Would
And
there be someone we could work with?
I think Veronica's been handling it.
Okay.
I was gonna say probably, so if we just took Fort Worth, I mean, you can take Waxahachie, you can take Fort Worth, anybody, I mean, any of them. Look at it, kind of figure it out and all, but I personally want it updated. It,
I feel like, obviously, if it looked like Fort Worth or Waxahachie, that'd be fabulous, but I feel like as a commission, at a minimum, you want at
we
least.
want the correct COA there so that people can go and fill it out and email it back, and they don't have to try to get to the building office by 5 o'clock or take off work. They can fill it out, email it back, and it's got a date stamp when it was sent in, and they know they met the 3 criteria.
It comes back in a nice little document, it's not scanned from their phone or.
Right.
Yes.
And
Great.
and so
But like at a minimum, the COA, at a minimum, the historical overlay, the map, at a minimum,
the landmark
landmark, at a minimum, I'm thinking like links to the ordinances that might, if we're gonna do these 2 programs, I feel like they need to be on there, right?
right.
The
And see,
application for them.
and see, they have on here, really, they have links to the NPS and the 51.
Right, which would be
Briefs that
lovely
they did.
someday, but like,
They don't have all 51 of them here, but they like put the windows because the windows are an issue. And, aluminum windows that they put some workshops and stuff on here about how to do maintenance and stuff on your home.
sure. which
That's
would be
not really,
great.
that's a want. That's not a, that's,
need.
that's not a need.
A need would be a COA, an overlay map, description of what you do, who's on it, a calendar, and then if these 2 programs get approved.
Those 2
those
up
need to
there
be
on there. And the tax,
application.
yeah, because there's no taxes in it, or tax exemption. They have tax exemption and there's not a tax exemption anymore.
But here is what we were talking about earlier. These 2 programs are a reason why you might want your home in historical or your business. Okay.
So, okay. So you've been given kind of, y'all need to talk
Is there
instead of
anything else
just
anybody would like to
me.
see, Scott, you've been around,
I was writing. I was,
Okay.
no, I was again.
you agree with those things?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
you're.
Well,
yes,
on our task
you're
force,
good.
that was one of the things, I sent like a whole list of things to Mel. That I wanted to see
Well-
on the website, all of that you just said.
Yeah, we're gonna get down there. Okay, so you got a list of kind of to work with there?
It's that
Okay.
thing that when I get a minute, I'm gonna go pull up the website and then I'm gonna look at it and then I will probably add things.
And then you can send forward and you see something we didn't talk about.
Yeah,
you
that's
think
what I was
is really
saying, yeah,
important, just send it back to me.
You can send any, you can send anything to Heather, but do not, I'm just saying, don't include any of the rest of us because then you're gonna end up creating a conversational quorum.
Right.
Okay, so the item number 13 of the workshop is the yearly resource inventory. Each of you, this is what we do. We divide the historic buildings into into 7 sheets, 7 people. Well, it was 6 on this one, because that's what we had at the time, 6. And each of us takes 13, with the exception of Oakdale, takes 13 to 15 buildings. You go out and you look at those buildings and you have it in front of you, Sherry, there's a it's a packet.
And this little guy right here.
Okay, there's a cheat sheet to tell you what to look at.
Mhm.
There's a packet over there, which you don't have any of them next to you.
No.
See there?
Oh,
You're
this,
new.
Yeah, because you're new, so
Okay.
you weren't on it, but talking about it, and there's a sheet that goes with it, and this is not a inspection like not doing a resource survey on it. What you are doing is you are just checking off that they haven't changed the color of the front door, the doors are still on the building, the roof is still attached, the windows still look good. It's whatever you can see from the street. You cannot step on the property. So the sidewalk or the street. There's a house that has neither a sidewalk, but it has a street. And you have to stand in the grass to keep from getting hit. So in theory, you're on their property, but there is no other place to stand and to do that house. And so if that's the case, you have to stand on the grass. But I mean, you have to use your common sense on it. So
so who am I on here?
you are nobody.
You
You lucked out this time. But I want you to look at the sheet and
I will.
just kind of,
Okay, yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, you can walk through Oakdale with me.
you can, hey, what you can do,
buildings I got.
I thought he had one, I'm like, why is
Where's your blood?
because he's got 30.
I was-
But if you want, you can call any of us and say, hey, are you looking at a house today? Can I meet you somewhere to see how to do this? And also that you can kind of get an idea of this is very simple. This one is very simple. This is not intense. You don't have to know roof pitch or anything like that for this.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
I know
So-
building things.
I know you do, but I'm saying this
And
one's.
when are you wanting this back?
We need to have it back. See, this is, let's aim for July 1st. That gives us 2 months, right? 45 days, about 45 days
I'll do my best.
to get them back. And whatever you have in that 45 days, please be sure and turn them into Jody. And then we'll look and see how many are left to get done after that 45 days.
Jody, you want them all at one time?
She prefers them all at one time.
Mine, yeah. Yeah, I thought so.
Just the rest of them, Scott.
What's
Then
that?
we'll give the rest of them to Scott?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Since you only have one.
That's
You
not,
can
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next
Yeah,
item.
Let's have it.
So, it's the report from the Texas Historical Commission Annual Meeting, Real Places, and Miss Heather's been asked to do that.
Yes, and so obviously I went in, was there, Melinda was, not feeling well, so I was gonna do some virtual. But I brought back a couple of things, we go to many different classes every day, but, I just brought back 2 that I really felt like were important for Glen Rose. There are obviously a lot more information that we learn that you don't hear me talk about it all night. The first one is this Texas First Street Initiative. This is, so the state also runs what's called Main Street, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Main Street program. From what Ann has told me, that Glen Rose used to be in the Main Street program years and years ago, but there are a lot of requirements to be a Main Street program participant, which are a little more rigorous than this new Texas First Street Initiative. So this is a new program. They're, what I think is a year into it. You have to apply as a city. And if you were to want to become a Main Street program again in the future, you have to become Texas First Street first. And so there's no cost to join. You do apply. And it is more educational focused so that you are in this with a lot of other cities and you are doing virtual meetings. You have to have a representative who's on some virtual meetings. And you're learning from other cities. And if there are things that us as a commission or the city is curious about from a historical perspective, there's a group of people you can talk to, throw questions out at. And so I would recommend that as a commission that you recommend to the city that they should join this Texas First Street Initiative. I don't know, Ann, if there's anything else you wanna.
Well, the nice thing about this is Heather was saying, is that when you're a main street, which is what the Historical Commission has had for 20 plus years, you must have a designated employee who runs nothing but the Main Street program. And it helps you get grants and all kinds of stuff. Being part of the First Street Initiative, you don't have to have that employee, but we'll still be able to look at grants from this and things as a municipality and be able to get them to help the storefronts. And I know one city that is a Main Street city and has been for a good 15 years or better. There's a lot of them around us, but I know this one firsthand. They had a good 90% of their downtown vacant 15 years ago. They became a Main Street city. They have won Benjamin Moore's Main Street, Paint the Main Street. They've won it 3 times. They've gotten the facades painted by Benjamin Moore. They've gotten a lot done with this. The historical, but it's a rigorous program. So Heather is correct. This is the program we need. We can still get into some of those facade programs as well as other programs to help. And they even have initiatives for the interior of the buildings and things like that. So y'all can read over it. And when we come back next month, we can vote or to recommend it to the city council.
Second on the list, and I've been to this one twice because I'm so intrigued by it. So there is a federal Texas Historic Tax Credit Program. And so if you are and Glen Rose has one, a National Historic Downtown District, and or you have a building that is on the National Registry or State Registry or both, you as a building owner are eligible for Texas and federal tax credit. Now there are, and we don't have to get into all these, but there are, you have to, specific requirements. Obviously you have to apply for it. And there's minimum amount of work you have to do, and there's other things that we don't want to get into all the details. But I do believe that Glen Rose is at a point that, several of these buildings downtown and other, buildings in our city could be eligible for some of these. So for Texas, you're eligible for up to 25% credit of what you spent back in a tax credit. The Texas one is the most intriguing to me because you can immediately, once approved, you've done your work, you've gotten the credit, you can immediately go, there's an open market to buy these tax credits back. And they're saying, anywhere from 90 to 95%, let's just say you got $50,000 in tax credit. You could immediately go sell that. There's big companies out there, AT&T's and other people in the world that will buy that off of you for 95% of that $50,000. And to me, like, you got that money right back, right in your pocket. And so I just feel like there's got to be buildings and building owners in the downtown area that could really benefit from this. And then the federal is 20%. And it is more applied to federal income tax. And so you would just over time as you're making money and hopefully making money on whatever you built out, be getting a 20% of what you spent back from the federal government. So
It's a 45% stack
it's 45% stack of what you spend.
On
And
your-
so,
on your tax credits.
and there are cities like, it's unbelievable to me that nobody's used it yet, but there are cities out there that have multiple buildings, using these tax credits. So I really feel like it's something that.
And the state has the federal has a dollar amount minimum. The state has, it's $5,000. I mean, you just have to spend $5,000. Well, anybody put a roof on lately, it's more than $5,000. So the federal has a minimum amount you have to spend.
5,000 or the adjusted basis, and we won't get into that.
Yeah, it's a whole
Building
work.
itself. There's a little more involved in coming up with that credit, but, so I just think as we're looking at downtown and, buildings and people are looking at improvement projects, we just need to keep reminding people that this is out there. So that's one of the things. So that's just a little view of, we learned a lot. I mean, there's obviously a lot to be learned.
Yeah, there's a whole book of classes
Yes.
that we paid for and attended and all. So, and it's very good. So next year, it'll open up in November. And if you pay before the end of December, it's a huge savings.
Right. There might be
And,
some people that want to like just virtual.
and then there's the virtual classes that they do also where you don't go down there necessarily. They talked about the Preservation Trust Fund grant also, and that's a good
There are a lot of-
program.
Yeah, we went to the grant programs, preservation grant program, and there are a lot of, that we need to.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, that this will give you, and then here's one of the things that one reason I was pushing for years for us to get back into Main Street before they came up with this initiative is because the Historical Commission has a whole architectural design team that if you're part of the Main Street program, which they're gonna slide this into it, it's really not part of feasibility, but they will use it a little bit. We can call the architect at the state of Texas and get architectural assistance free of charge. There's a lot. So that's one reason that I'm telling you, y'all can read it. You can go on the Historical Commission's website, read more about this and
There's
first
no
initiative.
downside to this.
There is nothing that we should not do about this.
Right. There's no
Because
fee,
we
there's
have-
no- it's just, right, there's
It gives us
absolutely-
access to people who, when we are not part of this program or the Main Street program, we do not have access to that part of the Historical Commission.
And they're very excited that we might apply.
I know, I've gotten 3 emails from them. They're like, okay, so what day can we come up and sign you up? And I'm like, I got to take it to the commission. So, yeah, they're excited.
Was that the only 2 classes you went to?
No, I mean, we're grant class, but I mean, I don't think y'all want to sit here and listen to it all night long, but no, there's like, I mean, how many a day? 3, 4 a day?
No, there's like,
Yeah.
about 20 of them. There's tons of them. But those are the ones that she took away.
Those were my favorite.
Okay.
Because Thursday, they start, okay, I can just tell you, another reason I have this here is because I wrote notes all in it. On Thursday, which was the first day of the actual thing, it started at 7:30 a.m. with breakfast, and they always have a speaker. And then you went from there at 9:30 where they did back-to-back concurrent sessions all day long from 9:30 until 5 o'clock at night for 2 days, all day Thursday. And then from 7:30 Friday morning until 1 o'clock Friday afternoon. So it's a day and a half. Now, I personally took classes on Wednesday because last year, you and I took the Elgin class on Wednesday.
That would have been extra cost. So
It would have been
I decided
extra
not to
cost,
do
but-
that this year.
But this year they put it into the program. But I took a couple of classes that were extra cost. And, I took the class designing downtown with the Historical Main Street program. I took that class. I'm telling you, we need it. We do, and I paid extra for that class. And that's where I found out about, the NPS has written a new electrical code.
But there are a lot of things from a city perspective that should be applied for grants, like facade grant program.
The Texas grant program, land grant program, there's a lot of them out there. But you have to
The
be,
city owns this historical park over here with all those old buildings. I think you could get a grant for that.
now, there's only the FAR building is, yes, all the homes are historical, but the FAR building's been recorded.
So has the city ever had a grant writer to do some of this, or is this just new? Like
No, it's not new,
grants?
but
But we
Michael,
don't have a grant writer.
they do not have a grant writer. They pay somebody to write grants, and you need to pay somebody to write these grants.
Yeah.
But Michael used to write all the grants for the city. When he was the city administrator, he wrote all the grants. I mean, he'd spit them out faster than anything else. But the historical commission,
That is something you can do as a commission, recommend to the city council.
yeah, they need to have a
grants
grant writer.
Grants that you want to apply for, but you'd have to have the funds to get a grant writer.
Mm-hmm. I've written grants. I've written grants. I'm not gonna remember it. Okay, we got one more item and the task force updates. Okay, the task force updates were given to us in June of 2024. And we have done quite a few of them. I printed them off. Hang on. What'd I do with the paper? I don't know, I printed it off. I printed the list off because I knew that we had already done quite a bit of it and we just need to kind of figure out what's left for us to do. That's the email. That's that one. Where did it? Oh, it's right in front of my face. Sorry. Okay. In 2024, they gave us 3 items that they thought were of priority and 1 large item that was needing to be done. The very first thing they put on there was to update the city website.
That's out of our control.
That is out of our control, but we can send them
I hear you
everything that
back
we
there,
want to.
Steve.
Did you hear me, Stephen?
No, that's okay. I said I could hear him.
And it told us the things that they wanted done to that and on the, updating the city website. And we have sent some things over and also we're just waiting for them to complete it. We have done, we did 1E. You don't have the list. I will get you a copy of the list, okay? 1E says clearly defined maintenance not requiring a COA. There is nothing that doesn't require a COA, but we clearly defined what ordinary maintenance was. So everything requires a COA and it can go consent, but okay, so improve and item number 2 was improve property owner communication. So Heather has her copies over there because she told me not to mail them to her. But well, she was going to pick them up. We see her once a month. I mean, anyway, it says that they're aware of what HPC does. 1-page overview, high levels for requesting the COA, and develop a dossier on all historical properties. Well, what I did was, and Melinda wrote the letter, and we attached the COA to it, a sample of the COA, and it said, we attached places that they could find information to, links, and what was the C item? It's in your packet. We attached that. We also put in,
No registry.
we put in a sample of the historic resource, this yearly resource. We put in that we had a historic resource survey done in 2010. And it outlined everything about your building. It was very detailed about your building. That was all included in there. So we gave them the letter,
letter,
And addendum A is,
say ordinary maintenance.
yes,
COA,
and then list the places that you can find information.
list of contacts.
Uh-huh, and then a copy of the historical resource survey
Report.
inspection sheet. And then,
Information about the building or house.
so we sent that to all of them, all the property owners. And all, so they all received that in March. That was done.
It's done.
So, hey, the walking tour is the other item that's on there, and Gabe was so gracious to do spell check on it, because I took it and we've had one done. And all, and I just had it was in a PDF, and, we didn't have any, we just had a hard copy, we didn't have a scanned copy. So I scanned it in, and when you go to move it from a scan over into Word, every other word is misspelled, and I didn't spell check any of it. I was just grateful I got it that far, and Gabe went and spell checked it, and I believe you sent it back to Melinda.
Yes.
And Melinda said she'll get over and we'll be able to get that done. So the walking tour, the historic walking tour is moving forward. And it's closer than it has been.
I think we would like that on our website.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
That's nice, and they can just pull it up on their.
Yeah, the walking tour, yes. And it has approximately, because it goes far, it has maybe 60, 70 buildings on it, on the walking tour. I'll get you a copy of that also, Sherry.
Okay.
I know, neither am I.
They've been walked.
So, when we when we did the property owner communication, I went through, and Jody didn't like me, but that's okay. I went through and found, because I ended up duplicating some of them, because if you own a building at 200, then you have 200A and 200B, and, you know, so you ended up being on here a couple of times, because then your tenant is different. So Jody went and cleaned all of that up, and she got everybody fixed on there, and she has it all in order. And so there were a couple that were missing. If you are in the historic district, whether you, like the annex building and City Hall are in the historic district, you have to look at them. When, you know, they still have to follow the historic rules. So she had added those previously to the sheet. You still have to walk by and just go, yeah, the light bulbs are still on. So that's kind of it. So that's all been updated, that. Jody has a copy of it, and she's corrected all my errors. And Heather, I believe you got a copy back in March also, and Melinda has a copy. So that's where that is. Dave was working with me on the walking tour and all of that, and you and Scott were working on getting the tenant set up, a meeting with all the merchants. And also, where are we on that? Okay, so do we need to find a date?
Yeah, well, that's.
Let's
what we
set a
were trying-
date and
I think
then-
we discussed a couple, and then it just happened, and something else got in my way. So,
Okay, so do we need to, I mean, I know
yes,
that
What are we gonna do to entice people?
that's-
we're gonna have
We're gonna,
a meet and greet with, you know, if you have the Bernard Mill, you can,
go ahead.
you know how Bernard's Mill flows parties, so we can have a party at Bernard's Mill with the tenants, but Scott can do it at his building
Well,
in the
and
same
that's the
way.
thing,
Okay, help me and tell me what you're talking about.
My availability is.
Okay.
Slim on the building.
The meet and greet and
Or
the,
historic building owners or tenants,
Both of those.
to the Historic Preservation Commission.
To meet the commission, and
Because everybody
mailed-
thinks we're the bad guy.
yeah, we mailed the packet that Heather has over there, we mailed that to the property owner, because the property owner is the one who is ultimately responsible. If you, the tenant, does anything to that building on the exterior, they're ultimately the one who's responsible. So I was gonna make packets for the tenants when we have this tenant meeting, to give them those same
Tenants
exact,
and owners.
yeah,
I think what you should do is, once these pass and these go to city council, maybe that's the draw. Come learn how you can get your your credit.
Right, and we
your
can-
grant program, like,
Yeah, and we'll need to make copies of those for the building owners who didn't get them the first time. But we need to, so July? I mean, we need to set
do you
this,
want
so
this to pass first so that maybe you could describe the
Well,
programs?
wait a minute. Oh, we're in May. I was thinking
Back in June, it goes to city
Council
council
in
in
July.
July.
So August.
It's early August.
Okay, I was confused what month we were in.
So can we do a Sunday at Bernard in August after school starts?
We can
It's
always
more like
do,
that.
we can always do a Sunday at
I
Menards.
mean,
They say, but the thing is, we need to
it
send.
has to be midweek for me. 'cause those
We
are
can
the
do a
Sundays.
Sunday afternoon, 2 to 4 at Bernard, or 1 to 4, or whatever you wanna do at Bernard's Mill on a Sunday afternoon. And
Want to do a weeknight?
It would have to be, but I get it. It's gonna be.
Yeah,
easier, so.
okay.
well, if you wanna do a weeknight in
What
August,
do you think you'll draw more people to?
I think a Sunday afternoon after church, come by, have a little snack and learn what your commission and how do you take care of your historic building. And oh, by the way, here's the new grant programs that we have, is financial incentive to do something to your building.
That's how you're gonna get people there.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
They don't really care.
they don't,
None of them care.
to be honest.
They care.
Right.
Okay. Well, I know that woman that runs Bernard's Mills, she won't show up, so.
Mhm.
She might
Just leave the
door.
key and,
She might turn the alarm off and that's about it.
so you're not.
So we need to get that passed, then we need to set a date in August on a Sunday afternoon to get the tenants, the merchants, and the property owners there so we can explain this program.
So were you visiting the tenants? Is that what you were asking? Were you supposed to call on the tenants?
No, we
Just
sent
have more of
out-
a-
We,
It's like a meet and greet, so
Yeah,
they
it's
can
just
greet
like a
us
meet
and
and
then.
Cause the property owners got the packet.
Right.
I know you understand. And we were gonna send them to all the tenants, but we were gonna give the merchants or the tenants, whatever you choose to call them. At the time, we were gonna do a meet and greet, come pick up this packet. This tells you about it. These are the things you can do. But now that we've increased it with some facade money and an incentive, we need them all back there again.
I think that's the only way you're gonna get people.
Yeah, we're on
But were you gonna invite them personally?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have all the addresses of all the tenants.
just asking.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Oh,
send
I have
them
all the
in.
addresses of all the tenants and I have all the addresses of all the
Maybe there's a raffle, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you gotta get people there.
Hey,
when
right.
the time comes and we can talk about the incentives that we can put into it to figure it out and see what we can do.
Maybe someone gets $500 without.
I just know at Christmas, nobody participated very much in the, Christmas stuff. It was hard,
Incent people.
Oh, you talking about here?
Christmas.
How sad.
Oh,
Cause you spend a lot of time. Anyway, that's not on this subject. We can't
I know.
talk about it. Sorry
We
about
have
that.
consent people.
But we'll figure it out and we can do a mailing, we can do something. But, cause I do have all their names and addresses. So those were the items that were on here. The task force updates, y'all need to get that done. And we'll look at it in August. The tracker, they want a tracker so everything that was approved tonight
Oh, yeah.
has 180 days from tonight to get done. So they want it put in a tracker so that if they don't have it done in 180 days, Heather can remind them that, I'm sorry, you're out of compliance, you need to fill out this little piece of paper. But that all falls on Heather. I mean, kind of thing. So, are there any questions? Because poor Sherry, she's got inundated and she didn't have a lot of this.
I'm good. I'll catch up.
I know. But I'll send you this because I have your email. And and if you want to go with somebody,
You know where I live.
I know where you live. I've been there. You know where I live. So
I might.
you might know where I live. Oh, you're hiding? No, I know where you live in Dallas. And I know where you live here. Oh, yeah, I got your address over there.
I can't.
Okay, so if there's, okay, we're digressing. We got to stay on track, y'all. So are there any questions? Is there anything that in the task force that I didn't think of? Because I pulled the list of the items that they said we needed to get done. We got the one pager because we covered it all in that. Okay, so without any further ado and any other things to be brought before this Historic Preservation Commission this evening, it is 6:48. Is that what it says up there? 6:48 p.m. on May 20th, 2025. I move that we adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? It's a 5-0. We're out of here.
And there's nobody here that knows where Larry lives.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know where Larry lives. I know